Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the White Collar Players Immersive Mod series. In today's episode, we look at a miscellaneous collection of mods ranging from Vertibirds and Explosives to Dialogue and the Fog of Far Harbor. Today's show has some great adjustments in it, so please sit back and relax while we get things started. More Guard Posts by Mike C2103 introduces some new ways to help protect your settlement. Available as separate files are the Guard Rug, the Guard Chair, the Guard Stool, and the Guard Toilet. However, we chose only to install the rug and chair because we thought that the others seemed a little unnecessary. After you install the files, you need to select the defense value of each one in your plugins list. We chose to give each a defense value of 6 to match the other vanilla defense guard posts. To build these posts, you can find them next to the default versions in the Defenses category of the building menu. This is a great mod for adding guards inside of buildings or in any other location where the standard guard post simply won't fit. While there are many problems with the vanilla dialogue system from an immersion standpoint, one glaring issue is the lack of a full printout of what you will say in conversation. Thankfully, Cirosan and Shadwar helped to correct this lack of detail with their mod Full Dialogue Interface. Much like the title implies, this simple yet effective mod provides a full readout of what your character will say before you make your selection. There are many style options for the interface that you can choose from upon installing with Nexus Mod Manager, but we decided to go with the brackets and numbers but no shadows option so that the interface is minimalistic but still has numbers so you know which button to press for the option that you want to say. We are certainly grateful to these two authors for restoring the ability to think through our sentences before we speak. Deadly Fog by Progman makes two fantastic changes to the fog found on the island of Far Harbor. One being an increase in rads per second, and the other being a reduction in perception and intelligence while in its midst. The severity of the reduction depends on which option you choose to install. For our game, we selected the hardcore version, which means 20 rads per second and -2 to perception and intelligence while surrounded by the deadly clouds. The immersion justification for these changes is eloquently explained on the Nexus page, so please allow us to quote it now. The fog that threatens to consume Far Harbor is spoken of in divine reverence, mortal fear, and scientific curiosity. It's a pretty cool environmental factor that makes exploring the island off the coast of Maine that much more foreboding and atmospheric. However, when walking through the fog, it didn't feel as though the gameplay had matched up with the story. The radiation wasn't nearly strong enough to be considered a real danger to the island. Walking into the fog should not only be a battle against the crazy mutant fish monsters that hide within it, but also from the madness-inducing fog itself. We wholeheartedly agree with Progman, and now, without proper protection, you can be sure that the fog will claim you as one of its victims. During your travels in the Commonwealth, you may have encountered some Brotherhood vertibirds patrolling the super mutant-infested areas. However, this encounter wouldn't have lasted long because the various pipe rifles of the mutants and pistols of nearby raiders would have reduced this flying war machine to a flaming scrap heap within a minute. Fortunately, Tougher Vertibirds by Talkie Toaster implements a damage threshold system much like that found in New Vegas to the Commonwealth's vertibirds. Specifically, the vertibirds now have a damage threshold of 30, which means that anything dealing less than 30 damage, like pipe rifles and pistols, will do absolutely no damage to the machines, but missile launchers and miniguns will still have a devastating effect. With this great mod installed, you can expect to see small arms wielding raiders fleeing from a looming, fully armed vertibird as its minigun cuts them down, while much tougher enemies like missile launcher carrying super mutants attempt to land a hit and knock the bird down. To help combat these enhanced vertibirds, we have Grenade Expansion Pack 2 by Sean MS 1991. This mod adds a staggering amount of new explosives to play with, including many new types of grenades, more dynamic mines, remotely detonated charges, and on top of it all, the M79 grenade launcher. When installing this mod, we chose to use the plugin installer version, which allows you to select for different compatibility options, and because we are using AkihiroKytori, we chose this option to make many of the items craftable at the Weaponsmith workbench, provided you have the right materials and perks. In the grenades category, you can create chemical, cluster, contact, darts, and timed explosives. And in the mines category, you can fabricate remotely detonated charges, disguised, or traditional mines. There are so many items in this mod that they could have their own video, but we will briefly cover a few of our favorite pieces of throwable artillery. The Paralyzing Gas Grenade is an effective crowd control tool for either stealth or thinning a herd of rapidly approaching ghouls. Simply lob this near your enemies and watch as the potent gas attacks their nervous system, freezing up every muscle in their body, rendering them completely immobile. Don't stick around for too long, however, because the effects of the gas wear off quickly and can even be hazardous to you as well. The energized sentry rockets are a cluster grenade which ignite their thrusters shortly after being lobbed skyward, sending them rocketing back to the ground, carrying the explosive payload to anything unfortunate to be in their radius. Analogous to a shotgun blast, these mini rockets have a short range but a devastating effect in close quarters. Pulled straight from the Minutemen armory, the compact artillery shell delivers an extremely powerful punch. Be sure to launch at a far range though, because its effective blast radius is exactly what you would expect of a warhead launched over a distance of a couple miles. The weak throwers out there should probably just avoid these munitions entirely. Taking a break from high explosives, the throwing knife is an excellent silent dispatch method. It shines as an assassin of single standalone guards, but is extremely inept at combating anything more than that. Back on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, the nuke charge delivers a miniaturized atomic blast in the form of a remote detonated charge. To use this one, simply place the trap near unsuspecting enemies, hotkey the charge detonator, which can be crafted at the weaponsmith workbench in the utilities section, and wait for the ideal time to strike. Then press your hotkey and watch as the ground erupts into a mushroom cloud engulfing your enemies. While all of the different throwable munitions are fantastic, a main feature of the mod is the M79 grenade launcher, which fires grenades that are converted into sabos at a workbench, and can be customized to change ammo types. The M79 can either be purchased off a vendor or plucked from the clutches of a defeated foe. However, there is an experimental version hiding somewhere out there in the Commonwealth which allows you to switch ammo types on the fly by pressing the bash key. The capacity to swap out sabos anytime you want to get the munition that suits the encounter provides a new way to strategically analyze engagements with large groups of enemies. Truly an impressive piece of work by Sean MS1991, and we are very excited to put these many new pieces of ordnance to use. As a complement to the Grenade Expansion Pack, we have Better Explosives by Zzyxzz. Its purpose is to make explosives, including missiles, mines, grenades, and mini-nukes, much more deadly to both yourself and your enemies. While the changes made are mostly stat-based and behind the scenes, the change you can expect to see in your game is more enemies dying or brutally injured by your explosives, and those lobbed your way should be fled from and not merely ignored. Similarly, missiles will have a much more devastating effect on vertibirds, power-armored raiders, and basically anybody who tries to catch one in their chest, including yourself. While there are several different options to choose from when installing, we chose the normal version because it is recommended for survival difficulty, and we also selected the option to reduce the NPC grenade reset time to 30 seconds, which means that after an enemy throws a grenade, they have to wait 30 seconds before throwing another, which helps prevent spamming of grenades and adds the feeling that explosives used in combat are much more valuable and only used for very dangerous encounters. This is a fantastic mod, and one of several that we are using by Zzyxzz for adding a realistic and dangerous element to explosives. Yet another mod by Zzyxzz, we have Give Me That Bottle, which is simple in function but fantastic for immersion. This mod gives you back the container of whatever beverage you just drank, stored as junk in your inventory. It also adds more recipes for creating clean water at a cooking station. While this feature alone is great for immersively adding a way to get more types of scrap for crafting, in survival mode there is yet another purpose, refilling your empty bottles. As long as you have an empty bottle in your inventory, you can approach any body of water and press the key prompt to fill the container with either clean or dirty water based on the source. This is a fantastic little mod for immersion that gives you the ability to have a refillable canteen during your travels so that you can stay hydrated while trekking the wastes. Survival Mode Console Enabler by AkihiroKytori achieves exactly what the name implies, allows access to the console while in a survival mode enabled save game. This certainly can be seen as unimmersive, but we believe it to be a necessity for the PC version of a Bethesda game, especially with mods installed. There are still many areas of the Commonwealth where one can get unrealistically stuck or stuck in a load and instant death loop because of a poorly timed save game, which is best corrected with console commands. However, one command which does not yet work is God Mode. However, this may be added in a later update. Great work by this author, and it would be difficult to make our videos without this handy tool. Thank you all very much for watching today's episode, and we hope you found some items to add to your game. We gladly welcome any feedback in the comments below, as well as mod suggestions. Please remember that all of these mods are being added to our own load order, and we will lead up to an immersively modded playthrough. Thank you again for joining us today, and please leave an endorsement for any mod that you download and enjoy. We hope to see you next time when the white collar players take a look at setting up a camp.